Welcome everyone to the Too Long Don't Listen podcast. I'm Senda, your host, and today with me is Trevor. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a long time coming, I know. So excited.
Yeah, I'm honestly so excited about this episode for two reasons. Well, first because I get to speak with you and learn more about your journey, and second because you work in a company that is very trendy and buzzing at the moment. So I think there's a lot to talk about. I have this short and sweet intro which I will read for our listeners just to set the tone for
Sure.
the conversation. Introducing you, Trevor. So, Trevor Pyle is head of marketing at Profound, the agentic marketing platform helping brands figure out how they show up in ChatGPT, Perplexity, and every AI answer engine. He's been building GTM from scratch at high growth tech companies for over 8 years, and right now, he's right at the center of one of the biggest shifts in how buyers discover brands. So, again, welcome to the podcast. I'd love to start with one very generic but opening question, which is how did you get into product marketing? Because I know that's where it all started. So, maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely a product marketer at my core and always will be. I feel like a lot of product marketers, it's a very circuitous path. So changed my major 4 times in college, had no idea what I wanted to do, actually went into a graduate program for kinesiology and kind of going into like a healthcare academic research route. And I remember like on month 2, I was dissecting a cadaver and had one of those like out of body moments where I was like, is this really what I want to be doing for the rest of my life? And it wasn't even because I was grossed out or anything like that. I was just kind of like thinking about my interests, what really motivated me, and realized it wasn't really that like kind of more academic and medical pursuit. That's just something that a lot of my family members had done. So I left grad school, didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, I think maybe like a lot of folks, turned to what I believe is still one of the hardest jobs in tech, sales. So I actually started as an SDR, was cold calling all day for a real estate technology company that was eventually bought by Compass, moved into an SMB account executive role, mid-market account exec role. And then from there, definitely like a mutt of SaaS, hodgepodge of things, some product management, some growth, really cut my teeth at a company called Quantum Metric as I helped them scale from about 20 million to 120 million. And that's where I led product marketing, customer marketing, and enablement. And I think for me, what I've always loved about product marketing is I loved sales because I liked understanding how people enact and behave and just like kind of the psychology behind that and being able to have an impact on that. But that always happens at like a singular level, like a deal to deal, person to person level. So being able to kind of do that at scale with audiences is really what product marketing is, because it's understanding people, motivations, segmentation, how it relates to your product or brand or products and services. And it does allow you to just still be a generalist by nature, which is definitely something I am. So yeah, started at Profound about almost a year ago at this point. The company's only about 20 months old, built out product marketing there, and then quickly started leading the whole marketing team. We've gone through quite a few rounds of funding since then. So now we're just building out the team, scaling the function, and have some really aggressive goals for the rest of the year. But yeah, it's been very fun.
Instead of asking you what is your definition of product marketing today,
Sure.
I would just love to know how you've built that function at Profound because, again, we said it in the intro, but it's obviously like the advanced AI company of today. Like any marketing should be looking at that. So selling to marketers is probably challenging, and you
Mhm.
have to be like top notch. You have to have the top notch marketing to attract the right people. So how did you shape product marketing there? Oh, it's been a year, so from product marketing to now leading the entire marketing function.
I do think that product marketing, and I guess I'd say marketing as a whole, like our job is to maintain the gravitational pull between our customers and the company and to never let that get too far away. And our company is like the product, CS, sales, everybody needs to be intrinsically close to our customers. And that really is the job of marketing, to kind of create that conduit and that bridge. So when I thought about product marketing initially, I actually had a pretty PMM heavy team for a small team, like more than you would imagine, because I hire PMMs that are very much generalists who can flex into content, who are very distribution minded, and can kind of operate as mini GMs for the portion of the business they own. So it was a pretty like rudimentary cut initially. I think for some PMMs, when you're thinking about building teams, you're looking at segments, like is it by product line, is it by persona, or is it like horizontal vertical? You've got somebody on pricing and packaging, and then you've got somebody on a certain product line, or maybe somebody who's just on messaging or compete or something like that. we actually made it pretty broad. We had somebody who's focused on pre-sales, post-sales, and that's just the major. Of course, there's minors and a lot of like overlap between that, but that meant that there was somebody thinking about what does the first part of the customer journey look like? So how do they find us? What's our sales narrative? What's our initial narrative? How are we equipping sales to compete in the marketplace? How to tell the message correctly, appropriately? How are we positioning the product? And then post sales, it's like, okay, now how are we driving activation with our customers? How are we increasing usage? How are we then taking those folks that are successful, turning them into advocates, writing stories about them, creating stories about them, getting them to our events, and then pushing them back to the pre-sale side of the house. We eventually layered on like ecosystem product marketing there, that was kind of looking after like community and some of our partners and kind of building the more of like the groundswell of the community behind AEO and agentic marketing. But that's kind of the makeup of the team still as it stands today. But then we've layered on a bunch of other very critical roles on that. We've always had comms and growth, and now marketing ops coming into the fold and really starting to build much more of like a creative media house as well. So thinking about investing heavily in video, LinkedIn being a huge distribution channel for us. So yeah, that's kind of how we built the team initially.
Can you tell me more about shifting from product marketing to pure like general B2B marketing? Because also B2B marketing is trickier.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking to people who truly understand the industry they're in, and especially for you guys, it's not like you're selling to specific verticals. Your product speak to a lot of marketers.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what are your learnings from a like B2B focus point? Anything you could share with B2B marketers?
Yeah, I think for my journey specifically, like I think that you get a lot of marketing leaders that have different flavors. Usually it's like PMM, demand, or brand being one of those. I definitely spike in PMM, obviously, and brand. I think it's just good to have awareness of where you don't know everything and you need to hire really excellent people and count on those people to be high agency sparring partners that are going to like push you to push the team in a better direction. So like that's the first thing I did was just the awareness of we need really strong demand functions to make sure that we're rounding out the team. Also, I had built, some smaller scale growth functions, had been a seller in the past. So I kind of knew what I wanted operationally when it came to like getting the right leads in the door, qualified pipeline, what programs we actually think build pipeline. So I think that we were able to kind of just like make those adjustments there. But it's just been a pretty organic process for the most part and just kind of being like aware of where we need to really have spikes in the team. We definitely hire a lot of generalists by design, but also each one of those people has a very specific spike on the team.
It sounds like your team is pretty big today. Like, how many marketers do you have on your
Right
team?
now, it's 9 people.
Okay.
So it's not huge, and it was 4 for the longest time. And the sales org is obviously going to get quite large as well, and we have some ambitious goals. But marketing right now is comprised of like we've got branding content, PMM, obviously, growth, but then field marketing, and then maybe a little abnormal, but I think should absolutely be normal, is customer education, community, and ecosystem, all rolling into marketing. So our whole Profound University, the concept of the marketing engineer curriculum that we're giving to our customers, all the education, like product education and stuff like that, rolling into marketing because that is really part of your competitive
Hmm.
advantage, showing that you can make companies successful and you can like kind of push forward the idea of what AEO or agentic marketing or like marketing engineering in the future should look like.
And so, out of those nine functions or sub marketing functions,
Mhm.
how did you guys figure out your high impact initiatives? Like, what are the things that are truly moving the needle and that you've discovered throughout the last year?
Yeah, a lot of it is so company's 20 months old, not a lot of historical data. And I think we operate in an organization, which I think as a marketing leader, you should always try to find that provides liberty to marketing and to its people in general, right? Where it's like, we believe that we're going to do purposefully a lot of things that we cannot measure, and we're okay with that. We can feel those things though, and we can put listening in place to see if we that thing worked. Like for example, we'll do brand campaigns. Obviously, sometimes those are like a bit harder to measure, but you can put some signals in place, and you can look at like other factors of like, yeah, is it driving pipeline? Are we seeing like geo lifts in certain areas? Mentions on gong calls. But then you also start to see like people mentioning it in their interviews or as how they heard about Profound as like candidates or investors seeing it. So when you invest in things that you can't always measure, but just feel really good and high craft, and you start to like pick up some of those signals around it, it can be a good thing.
Okay, so now I'd love to ask you more questions about Profound and the growth of the company. So you guys hit 1 billion valuation in under 2 years, right?
Mhm.
So what did the go-to-market motion look like in the early days? Like, very curious to dig deeper into the components of your growth, because that is impressive. Like, you said it's been operating for 20 months.
Mhm.
So yeah, tell us more about your secrets.
Yeah, I think we've taken a brand first approach, which is maybe like a little bit different than you'd normally do. I think we had the benefits of like the tailwind of this huge shift in marketing is happening, and we are there. We're able to tell the story about it. We're able to provide a solution for it. And then there's a lot of value there. And then there's a lot of noise there as well, because obviously with a big opportunity, it just means it's always going to be a quite competitive market. So we felt that we had to propel ourselves as the kind of like hallmark brand really fast. And so that meant investing in brand channels before demand channels. So that meant standing up our field program very fast, standing up an owned conference program that we call Zero Click very quickly. And I do see our like owned conference as much more of a brand spin type play where we have a blend of customers and prospects, but it's, not inherently like a pure demand program, direct response program like you'd see with maybe digital channels or even like sponsored events. We did go quite heavy into sponsored events as well. So from our field marketing standpoint, we stood that up quite quickly and made a big part of that like a brand play. And then we invested obviously heavily in AEO, organic traffic too, and then earned in PR. Just making sure that we're using our data and our first party data and our perspective, which is unique, and just kind of like the benefit of having the largest data set in the industry to push that to as many channels as possible. And then we'd also use that for our own channels as well. Like research really has and continues to work for us, and making sure that we're publishing topical research consistently. So I think it's a bit abnormal, but we stay very close to our research team, meeting multiple times a week, so that we can quickly respond to any changes in models that's happening, any changes in responses that we're seeing, and get that to our customers and our market very fast. So I think focusing on field marketing with brand being a big component of that, brand marketing from an out of home perspective, and then earned in PR very early is what helped us kind of like create the paradigm of maybe being the hallmark brand in the industry, and then now we're layering like a lot of demand channels on top of that, or have been for a while.
You referred to the brand a couple of times, so I'm actually glad to hear that, because it sounds like you guys really understand the power of branding, especially in your category, and
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it so well, by the way. Like, I told you this before, but I loved your was it the Union Square, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah,
Yeah, the station
the,
takeover. Yeah,
that
that's
was
fun.
amazing.
Yeah,
So just wanted to ask you in terms of like your category and the AEO category. So I have to ask you,
yeah,
is SEO dead? Like, what's up with that? Because we're seeing this huge shift, but
yeah.
what is your position on that? Especially because you work for a product that sells AEO. How do
Right.
you approach the SEO drama?
Yeah. No, it's a great question, and I will authoritatively say no. Um, I the people that we sell to, our biggest champions, our biggest advocates, are lifelong SEO professionals who deeply understand the technical nature of organic search, visibility, and I think SEO is a uniquely positioned role in which it's so cross-functional and has to like get signals from so many different parts of the organization, whether that's digital and content and brand and PR, and then push signals to them, that they're the best position to actually like shepherd in this shift internally. So I think their job has gotten harder because organic traffic is still there. Like direct, Google links are still a thing, and people will click those. Paid links still are a thing. Um, but they now have to layer on this agentic engine, which is growing very, very rapidly. While it might not be like taking over SEO from a traffic perspective yet, it's just growing very quickly. So they now have to kind of manage these two paradigms. The good news is there is overlap between these as well. Like good SEO and good content in general leads to discoverability within answer engines. There's just some nuance between them, but yeah, SEO is definitely not dead.
Okay. I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to hear that.
Yeah,
And I'm curious about how you guys use both SEO and AEO at Profound, especially your experts. You're selling this, so you mentioned you have a research team, so I'm sure
sure.
you own so many learnings that you can apply to your own company and your own brand. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, part of that earn strategy that I talked about too, and having like a pretty heavy PR approach, is definitely plays into the AEO strategy too. We know how important offsite is for AEO. It was important for SEO, still is, but it's very important for AEO. And so that means that we really focus on some of our like core surface areas that we need to make sure that we have a lot of like offsite content. So that's LinkedIn, that's G2, any review sites for us, and then a bunch of like very credible earned media outlets, which is why we push so hard on all three of those surface areas. And then on an SEO front, I mean, our founding marketing engineer who used to run growth here at Profound, and before that was with Glean and Loom, is an SEO pro. Like he is known in the community, Nick Lafferty. So he is also driving our organic SEO strategy too, across the site and making sure that that's still working very well. But then also making sure that that's has like some overlap that plays into AEO, but AEO we're playing definitely more from like an offsite perspective.
What do you think is the biggest challenge doing marketing for something that people are not like don't really understand the value of it and what it can they potentially can unlock for a brand?
Yeah, and something that's like a shifting target, right? Like the paradigm of AEO and what works in AEO is consistently evolving and changing. I mean, it's our job to kind of be at the forefront of that and then
Yeah.
communicate that back to our customers in the market. I think the challenge of category creation in general is that there's always going to be different segments of the audience as you kind of move from the like early adopters to the middle and late majority side of it. And sometimes it feels like you're in a little bit of a desert because you've just got this small group of people who really believe and see the future in what you're doing. And you just need to hold on to those people, continue to advocate with them, continue to push as much educational content and just valuable, objective, research based content as you can forward to just create credibility around the category. It needs to feel like a real shift in the way that things are worked, are done and conducted, and a real shift in consumer behavior, which is what we're seeing, as opposed to just like a marketing play. So we just try to lead with as much objective research data as possible and bring a lot of education to the forefront to make sure that we're constantly educating on this new way of working with our customers. So I think there's just a lot of trust to be built, which sometimes can just feel like a laborious and lengthy process, but we're here for the long game, and that's kind of the goal of category building.
I mean, I know you mentioned there's a team that takes care of actually like creating the educational content, but are there any other initiatives, not necessarily in marketing, but anything you've seen work to build that credibility around the category?
I think what we're doing from a research perspective is also very valuable. Like, yes, we have the educational content on like the new ways of working within agentic marketing, whether that's building agents in Profound or it's building agents somewhere else. Try to make it as agnostic as possible. But yeah, staying very close with our research team, making sure that anytime they're seeing changes in the data set, we can have a perspective on it and get that out as quickly as possible. And I think what's important is to have a perspective on what's changed and why. And that doesn't always need to be correct. I think what you want to do, especially in social channels, is create discourse and create conversation. And of course, you don't want it to get like too negative sometimes, but I think it's very important when things are changing and you're at the frontier of something to have an opinion on something, even if that's going to be wrong or invalidated in a couple of weeks. That's kind of the goal, is just to make sure that you have a perspective on the changes that you're seeing. So staying very close with research and pushing perspectives on that front has been very valuable for us. And then honestly, it's just talking with our customers. We work with a lot of really incredible marketers doing great work in and outside of Profound, and just learning what their modern marketing workbench looks like and seeing how we can build more and more of that.
If there's anything you would want the whoever's listening to this to take away with them, what would that be from like you've shifted from product marketing to now leading an AI company's marketing strategy. So what's your one tip, like secret weapon?
I think it's probably like more qualitative and soft than you'd expect, but there's a lot of anxiety around like kind of like FOMO of like what's happening and who's building what, and they used Claude to do this, that, XYZ. I think that it can create two like things, or kind of like two paths. One, it could create like paralysis and fear, and that can be dangerous. Or it creates that like you just you think that that's the only way you can work, and there's no modern or current ways of marketing that you could fold into that, and you can only go down the full AI route. And I think in reality, it's a blend of those. I think the main thing I'd advise is that like action creates information, and information allows you to understand, learn, and decide quickly. And deciding quickly and moving fast is like really what is going to allow you to win in this market. So don't be scared to do something. Take action. It will create information. You'll learn. You'll move quickly. You'll adjust. You're a model in and of yourself. So yeah, that's the one takeaway I would have, is just have a bias towards action and move quick.
A knowledge creation loop.
Yeah,
Will keep you moving and motivate you to do more and test more things. So yeah, thank you so much for the conversation. Can't wait to see where your marketing team goes. I'm following you guys everywhere. So
I'm following y'all too. So yeah,
thank you so much, Trevor.
cool. Thanks, Cinda.